and welcome to Banking Frontiers Live. I am Parinita Likhite, and today we'll be talking about fresh perspectives on marketing. We have Sheena Kapoor here with us today. She's the head of marketing at PR at Edelweiss Wealth Management. Welcome, Sheena ma'am. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi. Thanks, Parinita, and thanks, Banking Frontiers, for having me here. Well, I'm a marketer pretty much all through in the last nearly 2 decades of my career. Been about 6 years working with the Edelweiss Group, just taken over as the head marketing and PR for Edelweiss Wealth Management. Largely been an army brat, so shuttled about different parts of the country. But most of my growing up, post grad was in Pune, and most of my working life actually has been in Bombay. So yeah, I look forward to our interaction. Well, there have been quite a few in terms of interesting, clutter breaking, disruptive changes in development overall in the marketing sphere. But to my mind, I think the entire emphasis on, of course, digital was always in the play, but the fact that it's gotten accelerated and it has really become the play and the lay of the land today, especially post the pandemic as well. And the fact that there is now data science that marketers and marketing professionals are leaning towards. And there is this beautiful synergy between digital, data science, customer behavior, and the technologies in play that allow that. I think that to me is very, very fascinating because as a marketer, it gives you insights and information and a lot of data that you can cull and slice and dice depending on understanding customer behaviors, insights, who he or she is, right down to micro targeting and segmentation, and to be able to customize your entire communication strategies pretty much real time. I think that to me is extremely fascinating. The other interesting trend and development that I see of late is that a lot of brands today, given that consumers, or the millennials really are very fickle in terms of switching over brands, and you have to work that much harder to earn their loyalty and trust. And the fact that given that you're in an age of instant gratification and pretty much every service is getting disruptive because by the mode of delivery, it's literally at your fingertips and the convenience, where the customer is, and not really wanting to have the customer come to your service or branch or venue for an experience. And that itself means that the emphasis on customer experience is extremely high. The third bit is that given that brands, like I said, have to try that much harder to win loyalty, which means that they have to be a lot more authentic in the way that they approach their content, their communication. I think consumers today are extremely smart enough to sniff out, the superficial stuff to the brands who really mean something and are bringing about a meaningful change, or are more conscious about sustainable energies or movements or products, or a greener climate, planet. So I think that approach to be able to really become a more responsible corporate citizen and to be a brand that's more authentic and empathetic, I think that to me is again a very recent and fascinating trend. Well, I think a lot of sectors have really been raising the bar and pushing the envelope when it comes to marketing innovations. FMCG always really ruled the roost, for some great marketing. But I find of late that a lot of fintechs, a lot of brands, especially in the technology domain, a lot of e-commerce players as well, apart from the new age, platforms. So be it media, be it FinTech, be it AgriTech, be it InsurTech. Every model that is getting disruptive really has been pushing the bar and envelope. So whether you're talking, cred, or you're talking on most of the OTT platforms and media, or you're talking about, now Bitcoin being the latest craze. So you've got WazirX really doing some great marketing. So, and these are the newer players who are really like, out there and really pushing the bar, like I said. So, I've had the good fortune of pretty much very early on in my career to work closely with CEOs. So I started my career as a management consultant. What that entailed really was, giving me exposure to boardrooms and the C-suites, and really being in the same room where they were grappling with organizational challenges, be it on the, demand side, or be it a diversification, or be it, foraying into a new product line or a new geography, or the typical business challenges that CEOs really grapple with. So straight as a B school fresher, to be able to get that complete top-down view of the organization, to understand what it is that is going through the CEO's mind in terms of the organizational challenges, revenue pressures, industry trends, and to be able to look ahead, 5 years hence, 10 years hence. That kind of a strategic lens, I think, has been the biggest learning for me. And even thereafter with my stint in Times Group, whether it was Times of Money, Artha, the real estate division of the Times, even the Edelweiss Group, working closely with the CEOs of different business stakeholders, both on the B2B as well as on the B2C side, working on investor decks, presentations, plans, to be able to really see and not just look at it from just a marketing lens, but really look at it from a holistic strategy business lens. That to me is one of the great learnings. The some interesting anecdotes, if you'll allow me to share. Like, I have found different CEOs, they have their own personalities, and they have their own leadership traits and styles. But I found, one thing common, amongst most of them is that they're really hard pressed for time, right? So because you've got a lot's going on their plate, and you get limited window for interaction. So it compels you to bring in more rigor to your thinking, to really prepare well, that the 20 minutes that you have, or 1 hour that you have, or 2 hours that you have. And, there could be times, here where I've interacted with certain CEOs or chairmen, Mr. Ashesha, you're meeting probably once a quarter, and you get only, say, a 45-minute window. To be able to really bring focus, a sharper, lens in terms of what it is that you want to convey, where is it that you want a decision to be taken, what is it that you think could come up as a possible throwback or a question. So the entire preparedness and the rigor is something that has really kept me, it keeps you on your toes, to be able to respect their time and to bring that kind of focused, sharpened thinking. Well, a mix of all, honestly. So, it's been mostly a work from home, model. So a lot of it is, virtual meetings. A lot of it is WhatsApp conversations. A lot of, face-to-face time really has been replaced with this. I rely on regular updates, in terms of, short decks, short slides. Again, like I said, senior stakeholders really are hard pressed for time. So, make it very targeted, bulleted, and to the point. And also sharing some interesting case studies and infographics, to be able to show what's happening in the competition, or if there is a sponsorship proposal that we think, or a property that we think we should evaluate and explore further, to be able to look at those, some kind of gems and nuggets from that we're able to share as a repertoire for their reading and consumption. Well, marketing tends to be at the center of the storm, really, in most places. And what that really entails is you're working very closely with most stakeholders on the business side, on the revenue side, on the sales side. But more and more, as you find the different enterprise functions also, wanting to give a better customer experience, or give a better look and feel, or packaging their own product or service, you tend to interact a lot more and collaborate more with them. So, on employer branding, or in terms of induction, or in terms of, recruitment for new candidates from the B schools, or about, looking at leadership hiring, and what kind of an experience do you want to really translate to them, and where and how do you want to convey what your employer brand really stands for, to be able to attract and retain talent. You work closely with the admin teams, to be able to look at a unified, consistent signage, messaging, visual imagery of your brand across all your touch points, so whether it's, branches, or, and I'm talking internal as well as external, but going down to the stationery that we use, the font and the, color, and, the bells and whistles and the nuts and bolts of it, to working closely with the IR teams, in terms of especially where listed companies, you've got investors, shareholder meetings, to be able to package, annual reports, your achievements, your milestones that you have really done over the year. You work closely on R&R programs. I've worked here with the risk and compliance teams in financial services because, given that it's a highly regulated industry and environment, there's a lot of focus and emphasis on the risk and compliance frameworks. So we work closely with these teams to be able to look at what kind of communication and what kind of sensitization that we want to do, or even awards in terms of actually rewarding and incentivizing behavior which recognizes the risk frameworks of and processes and guidelines that you may have across teams and functions. So it's pretty much permeates all levels, all organizational hierarchy, and across all departments, really, so yeah,
Very
it's
interactive.
yeah, it's really, as a brand, I think everyone in the organization is the brand ambassador for your brand. And, as to build that culture and sense of pride, as marketing, you tend to work with pretty much and collaborate with the entire organization. I wouldn't be able to put a finger saying, oh, this department, or this function is the most appreciative, and is the most in terms of complementing the marketing domain. But I find that anyone who realizes the value that marketing brings to the table, to the brand, to the business, in terms of moving the needle, whether it is, from customer acquisition to retention, to be able to build, like I said, the employer brand, to be able to build an experience for employees, for your stakeholders, to build, an entire imagery and strategy. So my sense would be, to the extent that you are able to demonstrate value that as the marketing department brings. To that extent, you will really win their hearts over and their vote of confidence. And it's across, again, from the CEOs to the revenue functions to pretty much all the enterprise functions. It could be the technology function that admires marketing because you're bringing to fore a certain project that you're collaborating with, especially with the martech platforms that now you're looking at integrating further. Again, there are a whole slew of softwares and technologies, and I think pretty much most of the marketing fraternity today is on the learning curve of the martech platform. There are very few who've really using this to the hilt and to the maximum. I think we're still in the initial stages of uptake. But I think some great softwares, whether it's on CRM or CDP, which is customer data platforms, in terms of integration of AI, ML, whether it's Salesforce, whether it's Adobe, whether it's Resultix, even in terms of some tools that you may get from Google itself, to be able to really look at a one view of the customer, across different touch points and channels, to look at what kind of attribution that it has and brings to the bottom line and the top line for the company, to be able to predict customer behaviors and build an algorithm and a recommendation engine so that you're able to really be more intuitive, to the customer's needs and whatever gap that you feel that there is in the market your product or service is able to really address. I think these platforms really are incredible. There is a huge overload on the data side. So I think one needs to be very vigilant in terms of, as a marketer, first start with the objective of what it is that you really need to know, to understand, to keep a tap on, and what kind of insights do you want to really mine from the data to be able to make what kind of decisions, or you want to measure the impact and effectiveness of your marketing, or look at the ROI that you're bringing in terms of your budget. But the end goal needs to be in clear insight for you to be able to really appreciate these different softwares and platforms that they can bring to the table. So, well, on the pro side, I think marketing is a profession that you should seek out if you love the storytelling approach. If you love the art of storytelling, and essentially every good marketing is essentially storytelling. Every good film that you see, whether it's an ad film, every product that you have bought into, every experience that you've bought into, there is a marketer or a team behind the creative and the agency and the media team that's actually built and woven a great story. So if you enjoy the art of storytelling, to bring alive, a certain imagery, and to be able to bring abstract, glamorize it, package it, and to be able to make the brand, whatever it is that, that you stand for as an organization, to build a persona, so that you're able to create a pull, for the consumers. If you enjoy that, then marketing is the play for you. If you enjoy working with different stakeholders, if you love the energy and vibe of being creative, of being, wanting to push the envelope in terms of innovations, doing something new, if you like interacting with people, if you like creating experiences, if you enjoy, even working at, sometimes extremely stiff deadline pressures and some, very stiff constraints of, whether it's budgetary or timeline perspectives. But if you're able to really put the pieces together and see the magic come alive, if that's something that you enjoy, then marketing, is the way to go. it's very exciting. I think and it doesn't matter which industry you really gravitate towards, but because as marketers, what you carry with you are the fundamental skills of a marketer, which I think you carry and which are constant across industries, in terms of understanding the consumer behavior and understanding what he or she is about and what it is that you want to target. And if it's the whole communication game, the advertising game, and the creativity game, and it's not just on the visualization, or there is a lot of analytics as well behind it. So if you enjoy also looking at data and to be able to sift loads and reams of data to be able to create some insights, it's great. On the not so great side for marketing, I think one is that most organizations, they may claim to be marketing led, but are more business and sales oriented than marketing oriented. So I think that tends to be a typical challenge for most marketers, to be able to work with the top leadership or the management or board, who theoretically and practically recognize what the marketer or the CMO is trying to say, but difficult to win the argument because they look at it more as a cost center vis-a-vis as an investment center. So I think that's the big con. So if you're looking at having a real seat at the table, sometimes marketing tends to get marginalized, and as a career that may get jeopardized. The second aspect is that unlike other career streams that you may look at exploring or taking up, when it comes to marketing, everybody has a view. So you tend to you have to work with different dynamics and opinions, and sometimes and obviously trying to be very diplomatic of not wanting to step on people's toes or not wanting to really hurt someone's fragile egos, but there are a lot of unsolicited advice and unsolicited creative inputs that you may get, which may become very frustrating for a marketer, to be able to really deliver what he or she believes is an ideal way to go about things, or a communication strategy. So I think these two really. Well, non-marketing book, there are plenty. I'm an avid reader. Some of my favorite books range from The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle, The Little Prince. There is Blink, Tipping Point. There is, gosh, there are actually quite a few. But Animal Farm, Overstory. These are all absolutely great books, and each one really dwells on different aspects. Some are fiction, some are non-fiction, but they're interesting reads, and they'll open your mind and the horizons. Again, there are quite a few, but I think to non-marketing professionals, the 22 Immutable Laws of Marketing by Al Ries and Jack Trout. I think that's an interesting one. Again, Seth Godin's, a lot of his books are also interesting that one may look at and want to read. So, The Blue Ocean Strategy is another one of the great books on marketing to be able to see what lies ahead. So it's a blend of strategy, business, and marketing insights. And of course, there's always Philip Kotler's, I think the latest version, whichever it is. That's a good starting point in terms of getting fundamentals of marketing and some of the matrices or, frameworks that you may have to be able to understand segmentation and marketing a lot better.
So, ma'am, that's it from my side. Thank you so much for being here today and for taking out the time for us. It was a pleasure having your insights, and we hope to see you in more such interviews.
Great. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me here. Thank you for your time.